Hello everyone, welcome to the stream. It is Thursday, which means we're here for another episode of Triple T Thursday, which is tips, tricks, and tutorials. You may have noticed I have a guest with me on this. Oh wow, I actually got it right. Most of the time I point on the side, it's never correct. So I'm really excited to have my friend Dane Golden on here. I'm going to let him introduce himself because I always find it a little strange when people then drone on about the other people who are sitting right next to them and then they're like, I could have just told you that. So I'm going to let him say a little bit about himself, and then today we're going to be diving into YouTube analytics, kind of a 101 refresher for all of the newbies / other creators out there. So Dane, why don't you go ahead and take it away and introduce yourself?
Thank you, Shelly. How do I sound? Can you hear me all right?
I hear you.
Okay, great. So I just want to give a quick summary of who I am and what I do. My name is Dane Golden, and I am a YouTube educator, but also I help businesses with their YouTube channel management and their ads. We have a couple of businesses. One is called Vidiup, like Giddy Up, except for video, VIDIUP.TV. And the other is called vidtarget.io, which is for helping businesses target ads better. And I thought that people might like to know about analytics. Even if you're not a business, we will approach it in whatever way you want. And I thought even people could follow along in their own analytics as we're talking about it, because we won't necessarily be doing a screen share. I'm not sure what you want to do.
Well, I would love to, for anyone who's out there, please inundate us with your questions, because I put a call out on Instagram and Twitter, and I want to make sure that we are actually tackling the questions that y'all have of us. So those are all the ones that are going to get first priority. First things first, we do have to get out of the way. It is Thursday, Thirsty Thursday, which was almost the name of this series. So we have to ask the ever important question. Everyone out there, you know what the question is. Put a glass emoji, whatever kind of emoji of whatever you're drinking. So we ask you, what's in your cup? So Dane, today I will ask you, what is in your Nalgene water bottle? Is it water? Is it vodka? One never knows.
It's both. No, it's neither. It's sort of neither. So I don't know if this is interesting to anyone else, but I'm big into herbal tea that is from Celestial Seasonings.
Oh yeah.
And I actually bought $100 in tea. I bought like 30 boxes on their website of all different flavors. And so throughout the day, I just throw in another one. So I've got like 3 sort of weak teas and 1 strong one in there. And then I also throw in just like a teaspoon of vinegar in there. Like
apple cider vinegar?
Yeah,
I've heard that's really good for your system.
Yeah, and sometimes I throw in just a tiny bit of cranberry juice. So it just sort of evolves throughout the day, and now this is sort of the dregs of whatever.
It's the cocktail. I was going to say, at the end of the day, though, after all that, you've got some cranberry juice in there, you got some tea. That's when you toss in the vodka, and it's a little bit of a, Bay Breeze or whatnot.
I tell you, with the pandemic, as someone who works alone and lives alone, I only drink socially, so I've drinking less this year than I ever have because I'm not drinking with anyone, and even on Zoom, it's not as much fun.
Totally agree. Although I will say, for some people, I think they've started drinking more this year because of staying at home.
That's going to change for me in a few months.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so excited. The weather is starting to turn in Seattle. We're getting some sunshine. I honestly feel like the more sunshine there is that's out there, the happier I'm feeling. I'm feeling more like, we're really changing seasons. I'm feeling it. It's feeling good.
Me too.
Now, I was just on Instagram Live with our friend Liz from Canada, and she actually had a great question, and I thought I would incorporate it and ask you. So there's 2 from Instagram I'm going to bring over, and then we're going to also talk about the chat as well as whatever you want to talk about. But Liz was saying that, so she had picked up Daryl Eves' new book, The YouTube Formula. I have it. I think I'm only through chapter 1 of it, but I read the foreword from Mr. Beast, and I've got through chapter 1. Now, I want to ask, and I was like, I'm a little stumped. I'm not exactly sure how to help you, so I'm hoping you can help me. She wanted to know, is there anything that people can do to help drive suggested video views versus, I was like, I can help you with search all day long, but I feel like suggested is kind of like this black box of mystery wrapped in an enigma with a riddle for me. So I don't know if you have any advice that you would give Liz about, if you're someone who really wants to go after suggested traffic, is there anything that you might be able to advise her with?
Sure. There's a lot of things actually.
Oh, that's great.
Now, just for the people who are starting out in YouTube analytics, don't be afraid from the word analytics. It's numbers, but anyone can really learn how to do this. In college, I got a D in statistics, and I've mastered YouTube analytics, so you can too.
Yes, that's so great. I love that.
So Liz is asking about suggested video referral traffic. So what are suggested videos? That is what comes up, and I'm assuming that I'm showing the right side here. It comes up on the right side on desktop, or if you're looking at mobile, these are those videos that come up on below. And that is across YouTube, between those and browse features. If your channel's doing well, you're doing well in both of those, and we'll talk about browse features later. But suggested videos, how do you get more of your own videos to be recommended next to your video? Well, first thing you should know is that if you want to see how you're doing on your own videos, you might want to use something called incognito view, because that's a Chrome browser view, which is sort of strips away your own identity. Because YouTube actually refers different videos to different people. So if you're viewing your own channel and your own video, you might see a whole bunch of videos from you because that's what you watch, but another person might see a very different number of videos. But she's asking, in analytics, there's this number of how do you get more traffic there, and the more you get from suggested, usually the better your channel is doing. So what can you do to make YouTube think that an average user would want to watch one of your videos next versus another video? So I did the preamble here. Did we get the preamble right so far?
That was perfect.
Okay, great.
I love that.
All right. Okay. So you want to create connections. So how do you create a connection between one video and another? Well, you use all the tools that YouTube's given you at your disposal. So some of the things are, the primary thing is an end screen. If you think that one of your videos should be next, you want to put it in the end screen. And that is the last 20 seconds or less of your video. You can also put it in a card. So, by the way, in the end screen, don't just put it there, but say, hey, in this next video, here's something else that's relevant to this, and you can even specifically say what that video is. So that's how you can make bonds between the two of them. You can also do things like add some to your cards. Some people call them info cards. They're just that little eye that shows up in the top right corner. There's also, you can do things like put links to other videos in the description, right? Yes. So anytime somebody clicks from one video to another, it makes a connection. The YouTube algorithm makes a connection and says, this is something we should consider recommending to other people to take the same action. Then there's the other thing, is you can add them to playlists. So you can add them to, this video goes then to this video, and these are all of a group, and I want all of my videos about, let's say, real-time analytics to go in the same playlist, so they will be more likely referred. And then the other part is that you've linked it in the description, you linked it in the card, you've linked it at the end screen. You can actually link directly to playlists in any of those places as well. So you don't have to just link to one video, you can link to a group of videos. And the more the more the YouTube algorithm learns that people who like one of your videos like another, those will go more into suggested videos. So,
absolutely. I also know people have done, that was fantastic, first of all. Okay. And I also think that some people have done things like they'll pin the comment with like a playlist they want them to see next or another video that's related. And I think it's about training not only like the users, but therefore the algorithm by what the user and behavior is doing. So if a lot of people are going from one video to another, then YouTube starts to go like, oh, maybe this video is supposed to be in succession to this next video, and maybe starts trying to, suggest that video a couple times and seeing if people when presented with that video, if they actually click on it, right? Is that kind of what you're saying?
That's right.
Yes, absolutely.
Yay.
So Liz, I hope that helps. We've got things like pinned comments. We've got things like links in the description, the info cards, end screens, and those are such good ways to do that. And not only great tip with info card, not only going to a specific video, but to a playlist, and then actually creating playlists with all of those kind of like videos in an order, or like using those keywords in it. So it's kind of just doing all of these little things to train people that these videos belong together. And if someone then hopefully watches one of those 20 videos, they are going to think, oh, maybe we should give them one of these other 19 in that playlist. So I hope that makes sense. And Liz, I hope that answers your question. If you guys like that answer from Dane, make sure you drop a thumbs up in the comment section, or drop a thumbs up on this video, because we want to make sure that we're giving some claps over here to Dane. Okay,
yeah.
So go ahead.
And I want to say, no matter what I say during this, people should feel free to ask questions about any type of analytics at any time during this.
Okay, that was awesome. Okay, so the next one is, I want to make sure that I say their name right. I think it's from Challenge TV, and their question was, as a new YouTuber, should I focus on making content, or should I really focus on analytics? Which I think is a good question, because, sometimes it's this whole chicken and egg thing. Sometimes you have to have videos to make, to analyze them, but it's also like, are there ones that I should be looking at right away in analytics that like matter more than others? We'll start there.
Yeah, so you don't want to be overwhelmed too much at the beginning of your journey, but you also don't want to go in the wrong direction. So that question is sort of like, I want to open a store. Should I focus on my customers, or should I focus on how much money I make? Well, you sort of have to do both, but you don't have to necessarily do them to the same degree. So I might say, focus on making great videos, but how do you know you're making great videos? You may like them, your mom may like them. My mom likes all my videos.
You're lucky, my mom does not watch mine.
But what other metrics are there of measuring whether you have a good video or not? And Shelly, what would you say would be one thing, if you could tell somebody one thing that could show, one analytic that could show them that they're on the right track, what would you say?
Oh, I would go with retention graphs and like average view duration type stuff. And it's so funny. I asked this question on Instagram, and I was thinking about this, and I was trying to get the answers. So I asked people, which metric is most important? And hopefully you can see that. It was CTR, subs, or average view duration. So I did this as a slider. Yeah. Did you see it? Okay.
Well, I'm trying not to look at the screen, because then I look down.
Oh, I'm sorry.
If I look at the camera, then it's more personable, I think, to the viewer.
Absolutely. I just wanted you to know that we had all of these responses, and for the most part, every single person said, oh, you can't even see it anyway. They all said average view duration. So I'm glad that the people that are like watching and listening and being on Instagram, they seem to have this one dialed in, because there was only a couple of people, and it seemed like they were newer creators who were most focused on the subscriber number being the most important metric. Now, I could understand that if you're brand new and you need things like your first 100 to unlock, your URL, or your first 1,000 to, do first half of monetization or live streaming. But after that, the subscriber number is usually the least of what I think people should be that concerned about. Like, I feel like retention and actually making sure that people are satisfied with your videos and improving that is more important. So I just thought that was interesting that there was that.
I agree, and I could, depending on how many questions you currently have in the queue, I could go on for an hour with audience retention. How much should we talk about?
I would love that. But that's just because I like talking actually analytics. And it's funny because I feel like sometimes people get very intimidated by analytics. And because YouTube is providing so much information that people get analysis paralysis, and it's so hard to even know which one should I be focusing on, which ones are most important. Because, if you think about it, you're like, all metrics are important. But then you're like, are they really? There are some metrics that aren't really that important, So I was glad that when people were looking at that, they seemed to get like kind of right off the bat, like maybe it's not just about CTR, maybe it's not just about, subscriber numbers. So that was a good one.
Well, yeah, and I just want to emphasize, and I'm sorry if I'm not looking at you for a visual clue. You have to tell me to stop talking when you want me to stop talking.
Never tell you that.
as I was saying before, I got a D in statistics in college, and then I took it again, and I got a D. I tried to improve my grade.
The probability was...
It was a low probability, right? So, but I've come to understand and love analytics because what I see is not a number. I see people in there. Oh, I see dead people. No.
Oh no.
I see people behind those numbers. That's what you're really looking at. And let's just talk a minute about this audience retention concept. And they sometimes people also say average view duration, and they sort of mean the same things. And basically what it means is in an individual video, how much of it are people watching? And if you think about it, if you sent somebody to a movie theater and then the movie was 2 hours long and they left after 1 hour, well, there's a few different ways of measuring that. They stayed for 1 hour, they stayed for 50%, right? So the same thing with a video, someone saying, well, you've either watched it for a certain percentage, but there's even more into it because you can dive into this graph and it looks sort of like an exploratory adventure map. You could go downhill, you go uphill sometimes. Ideally, you don't, if you ever skied, you don't go down a double black diamond, which is a waterfall at the beginning, which as a business, as someone who moderates and manages business YouTube channels, you see this so often. It's very sad because someone spends so much effort and energy and money trying to make good videos, and then people leave right away. So when you say, should I focus on making a good video or should I focus on YouTube analytics? You want to use YouTube analytics to know if you're making a good video.
Yeah.
And if you could just learn one thing, it's to look at those videos and just see how can I get people to watch my video for either more of the same period of time or longer in general.
Now, there's a couple of things, like analytics are complex, but there is kind of some simplicity in certain things. So when you say to some people, they only care about minutes. And I was like, okay, but here's the thing. You know, you could have a 5-minute video that people watch 5 minutes of, so that's 100% of the actual video, or you could have a 60-minute video that people watch 5 minutes of. So both of them are going to give you the same amount of minutes viewed, but one of them is probably, if people complete 100% of it, is more likely to have another of your videos show up in suggested or as an after than, let's say, the other one. So there is something to be said about making sure that the person is satisfied to watch the video all the way through. So, and it's not an easy thing to do. And I know that some people think minutes are the only thing that matter. And it's also kind of funny because they are also the ones to never realize that, like, okay, but also if you have a 5-minute video and someone watch it on double speed, you know, you only get credit for 2.5 minutes of view time, but you still get the 100% of the, you know, duration. So also keeping in mind, it gets complicated no matter how you slice it. But would you say that it's better for someone to watch 5 minutes of a 60-minute video or 5 minutes of a 5-minute video?
I would say 5 minutes of a 5-minute video, and I'll tell you why. Because it's not the only metric that matters, just because how much time. It's one of the, what you might call a leading indicator, meaning it's the numbers that start other numbers. Because what's going to happen if somebody loves your 5-minute video so much? What is likely to happen at the end of that 5-minute period? Shelly, what do you think?
I think you're going to get another video of yours suggested.
That's right, because they have now come to the end and they're at the end screen, and the most likely video for them to watch of all the videos that they are seeing on the screen, including the suggested videos, is your video, because you're saying, click on this next video. And YouTube has other metrics that matter, including how to keep people watching more consecutive videos. And people are generally going to stay on YouTube for a while and watch consecutive videos. You might as well be yours. So
that's
what
a
you
good
get
point.
is not you don't just get one video watched. Now you've gotten another one, and this brings us back to what I think it was Liz asked earlier, which was, how do you get more suggested videos? Well, now you've accomplished 2 goals. But again, if you can get most of the people that started your video watching at the very, very last few seconds, that is sort of the ultimate thing. And then you have to sort of figure out, okay, well, what do I have to say and how can I say it that keeps people on long enough, whether it's 1 minute or 100 minutes.
Right. And I kind of love that about YouTube Shorts as well, because it teaches people to get people's attention and hopefully hold on to their attention. And I feel like if anyone can learn to do that in a short amount of time, then it translates into a longer video as well, because it's such a skill being able to wrap that up in a 60-second or less package. So one thing I want to point out is YouTube actually comes out with some of these metrics now. If it's, we're talking about average view duration and percentages, where there's actually their first metric and pinpoint milestone is how many people after the first 30 seconds are still watching your video. Do you want to talk at all about why 30 seconds is kind of that first milestone that they kind of put in, and why that might be significant?
Yeah. And I want to just tell people that if you've never gone into YouTube Analytics, you may not even know where it is. There's a shortcut URL, and you can just type in, if you're logged in to YouTube, you can type in analytics.youtube.com. It'll take you right to your analytics. You don't have to go through YouTube Studio. It takes you right there. So if you want to poke around as we're talking, and just if you have questions, hey, what is this thing here? Go ahead and ask those. But the idea, what Shelly is mentioning, is that YouTube now is giving you these hints to say, here's for this first period, people have dropped off. Like I was saying, people dropped off here. This is a bad thing. Stop doing this. You can't change anything about a current video, really. There's a couple of tricks, but not really anything you could do. But you can change it for the next video. So how do you do that? Well, you try to stay focused. You try to get them involved in the story of the tutorial or whatever you're telling them. You try to not distract them by telling how awesome you are. No, like, comment, subscribe. Like, comment, subscribe. Not have spinning logos and long intros, but get right to what you promised. So what I tell people is the significance of the drop in the rate at the beginning of the video, people leaving and never coming back, has to do with a disconnect of what you promised in the thumbnail and the title, and then what happened in the first part. What happened I'm trying to do my orientation of my hands at the right way.
And if you guys see that chart, it's sometimes very telltale, where it would just go and drop immediately. And that is just like you're talking about, this disconnect or clickbait between maybe like what you promised people, what they're seeing on screen, some long rambly intro where, people will do that, like, I'm sorry guys, I haven't been feeling well, and the life story that people don't really usually care about, or like this 15-second intro that has all these buzzing and lights and the things that people don't really care about. We were talking about this tonight in Clubhouse, and someone was like, I haven't started uploading videos yet because I haven't created my intro. And I'm like, cut the intro. We don't need an intro if that's what's keeping you from pushing out a video. But like, not only that, but like a lot of the time people don't like intros anymore anyway. Just think when you watch something on Netflix and you watch the intro the first time, and then every time after that you're like, skip intro. And so that could also be something that's happening, and it could be an experiment that people play with dropping that intro. Or if you're getting people to pop off right away, maybe you're not, if you're a tutorial based like myself, maybe you need to show the thing that you're going to teach. Like if you want to learn how to do this, make sure it pops up on screen, and then you get into the tutorial and meat and bones of it.
Yeah, and I've interviewed a number of top YouTubers, and they have a huge emphasis on that first 60 seconds. And they believe that if you can keep your viewers on average through 60 seconds, more than 70%. So of 10 people that started your video, 7 are still watching after 60 seconds, you have the chance of that video doing very well. And I've looked through my old analytics, and it really happens. Would you agree with that, Shelly?
I would agree, because I feel like once people are kind of like bought in to you and what you're going to teach, or you personally, I feel it's like when you see a movie on television and you're like, I've already seen this movie like 50 times, but you're like, well, I've already started it and I want to finish it. There's like this like thing that happens. You're like, I want to see what happens next. And even if you have seen the movie, you're like, I want to finish it because I've committed to something and I want to get in there and learn it. So I would agree with that. Yeah, totally.
So for the questioner who asked if there, well, he didn't really ask if he should focus on one analytic, but we offered one analytic. Yes. And that is, if you can keep people above 70% of audience retention after 60 seconds, then you are doing a great job, and you might not even have to look at any more analytics. If you can do that on every video, you've got it. But what the other analytics tell you is how well you're doing things like that. They all sort of work together.
Absolutely.
Just like if you ran a, I live in Portland, Oregon. We have a lot of like food stands, food carts. Well, there's a number of different measurements you could have if you ran a food cart, right? It would be, well, how many hamburgers did you sell? That's one measurement, and that's a good one. How much profit did you make, right? Because some people might buy the cheaper hamburgers, some might buy the more expensive. But also, how often do people return? That's a sign of loyalty. So even if you had a small number, but the people that did come came 3 times a week, you're like, I just need to tell more people about it.
Yeah, once they get them in and hooked,
sort of
they're good. But like, we got to tell more people about it. Mm-hmm. Better than like, hey, we had a whole like a banging first day, but everyone hated us, and then wrote about Yelp, and then we got a bad reputation, so then all of a sudden it's like, oh, that's not good either. Which I think almost leads into this other thing, which is some people out there, and I don't want to, anyways, they seem to think that be all end all.
I don't want to say who.
I'm not going to say it. They seem to think that CTR is the only metric that matters. And CTR, if you don't know, is click-through rate, and it's usually talking about the number of times that your thumbnail has been shown to people, which is being called as an impression, and the number of times people stopped and hit the button. And one thing that's dangerous about that, we're always striving, and YouTube is saying the average is anywhere from a 2 to 10%. If you're in double digits, you're doing fairly well, which is a very wide range to start with. But I've seen some people be like, well, I have a 30% click-through rate. I don't understand why I'm not doing better. And I'm like, well, that's because your impressions, which is the other part of it, you only got shown to 50 people or whatever else it is. So it's much, much easier to have a high click-through rate when you have very few people actually being shown that thing. So it's not the be-all end-all. So I always kind of tell people, I'm like, yeah, it's a good metric to look at, but I feel like average view duration and that kind of thing, and the percentage, and what I will refer to as the 50% cliff, where in the video the 50% of your audience is gone. Mm-hmm. And so I like to, if you can get to the end and 50% of your audience is still watching, which seems like that wouldn't be that big of a deal. It's very difficult to get 50% of your people still watching at the end. But if you can get 50% of that in the last 2/3 of your video, then I kind of feel like people are on the right track. But those are the metrics that I usually will tell someone to go after, is I don't care as much about click-through rate. I do care about the average percentage and the 50% cliff. So that's one I always tell people about.
Yeah, and I don't know how much your viewership of this show knows about click-through rate. Should I give that some background on it? Okay.
Please.
So she said CTR, that's just click-through rate. And what are people clicking on? If you think about it, initially you might say, well, they're clicking on the thumbnail, but there's actually more to it than just the thumbnail, right? It's a thumbnail combined with a title, right? And then even combined with that, it's combined with a topic. So for instance, I might have a beauty channel, but then suddenly I do a thumbnail that's about lawnmowers on my channel. And you're like, well, no one's going to want to see that. But it's going to show you the thumbnail about my beauty channel, and I'm going to be, having a video about lawnmowers today. People are not, the topic's bad, right? The topic's bad for my audience. So they're not going to click on it, right? No matter how good the lawnmower is. Same thing with the title. If the title doesn't match really what we're looking for, even if the thumbnail's really good, but it says, again, I don't know why lawnmowers, but let's just say I have the great eyeliner tutorial, but it says, get the new John Deere mower. Well, that's totally incongruent, doesn't work. And then you have the thumbnail, and that has to convey a visual that wants me to click. And in addition, these are all competing, of course, with a whole bunch of other thumbnails and titles and topics right next to them. And there's even more to that, and that is, how well does your title and your thumbnail go together? Like, if you have a 10-word title, do you have to put all those words into the thumbnail? Is it crowding it with words that people don't want to click on? Also, maybe you want to focus on having a face of someone applying the eyeliner, or maybe people are more focused on, and maybe the title of it is the actual product itself and not the application. So you might want to show this, I don't know all the features, but like maybe this crumbles less or something like that. And so you'd want to like a super zoom in, and you don't need to show your eye.
Well, there's actually some eyeliners that have like little stamps at the end, whether it's a star, a heart, a moon, or something like that. And so maybe you actually want to show the end of the product, because that's unique and that's different, and that's it wouldn't look the same if you just had that, or you want to zoom in on your cheek while you're stamping. I mean, yeah, absolutely, it would make sense.
So there's this whole world in this, and one of the world's best people, although he doesn't have too many videos on it lately, is Jeremy Vest. And if you look up Jeremy Vest on YouTube, and maybe even join his Master Thumbnails Facebook group, it's great. And we're going to have him on. Can I tell you what my podcast is?
Yes, absolutely.
My podcast is called the Video Marketing Value Podcast, and we're going to have Shelly on soon. And I do this with Gwen Miller, and it's all about how to do YouTube and other video marketing better. But one of the things that you're thinking about, as you were saying, people just want to get their click-through rate better. Now, that's a great idea. Any way you can get that click-through rate better, fantastic. But let's think about what that really means. Does that mean that it is also being shown to millions of people, or is it a super narrow topic and you're the only video of people who like both lawnmowers and eyeliner? What is the group of the
What's
audience,
that overlap?
Right? What is the audience size? It's 10 people or 1 million people. And if you found that group, all 10 of those people are going to click. Then the question is, as we talked about before, does that continue from the click to people watching? Do they both click and really like what you clicked upon? Because, maybe they're just the thumbnail was just free cookies, but then your video has nothing to do, and I'm not getting free cookies. Why?
And then you're going to see that
60-second
drop off, really steep. Yeah.
Yeah, and then the other part to this is that number, what's the right percentage? It's really almost impossible to know, because first of all, different topics are going to do better. And then sometimes, and this is counterintuitive, so you have to think about this for a second, but what happens if you get a super high click-through rate and people are watching it? So you're like, wow, this video is doing great. And YouTube algorithm says, wow, this video is doing great. What is it going to do? It's going to say, let's show this to everybody.
Yeah.
Let's put this on the homepage of Google. Let's put this on the top of the app. Get it in the browse features. Put it in suggested videos. But what would happen if there was a niche movie, for instance, and suddenly Netflix said, this needs to go to every age group, every gender, every country around the world? Well, it's not going to be for everybody.
No.
Because it's a niche video. It's a niche movie. So what's going to happen is fewer people are going to click on it. So you may have a lot more views, but a super low
engagement
rate, and that's
even.
okay.
Yeah, or you could, a lot of people sometimes they dream of being like on the trending page or creator on the rise and being shown to more people. But people also forget that sometimes the people who get onto trending end up getting this upswing of hate comments and, thumbs down, because it wasn't people looking for that video. It was something that was hand selected by the algorithm to be shown to lots of people. And when you have something like that, let's say it's a meat and barbecue channel, and then all of a sudden it gets on trending, and then all of a sudden it comes across a whole bunch of vegans that don't like it, then all of a sudden the torrential comments and the thumbs down, and they're like, what? I would rather just have it go to the people who are actually interested in it, but like it got to everyone.
Thumbs down are just fine.
It's still engagement.
Hate comments are bad no matter
Yeah.
what the reason people are seeing a video, and there's no excuse for hate comments. But negative comments, I think, are okay. But hate, no.
Yes.
I think we can agree on that. But
Absolutely.
It's okay to have your audience expanded. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I think it's interesting because I kind of think about it like Shorts or the TikTok For You page, when they kind of, based on maybe your activity or what you've liked or what you've watched or interacted with, they're taking a chance sometimes showing you some sort of content that they think you might like, and sometimes they get it right and sometimes they really don't get it right. But I can appreciate and kind of like wonder at like, how did they decide this video was the right one for me? But I like it because if you think about your own percentage of how many of your views come from subscribers versus others, especially for people who may be in the camp that of course, a lot of people think they want to be in the camp where their subscribers are a lot of their views, but I sometimes think that that's not always the best because there's not as much opportunity to convert people who haven't subscribed to their channel yet. So sometimes being shown to a whole bunch of people, like getting it out there.
That's the only way you can get new subscribers.
Exactly, is to actually be shown to new people. So hopefully that will encourage people to subscribe. So I'm kind of for it, but it does have that double edge. Sometimes it's not the right people, and they're going to let you know about it. They're not your people. So.
Well, yeah. I have a lot of other tips about YouTube analytics. Would you like to know about someone?
I would love to.
Jump in anytime you have a question.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to say there is one in the comment section. I want to make sure I give a shout out to Pixelpia. And they are asking, is there any way other than to find out how many people have watched your video through the end other than looking at any individual video? So is there more of I guess you're looking for a channel overall, Pixelpia, versus each individual video? Is that the question?
I didn't understand the question.
Yeah, no, it's fine. So I was reading this, and she was saying, I think she's asking, is there more an aggregated way of knowing average view duration across all the videos on your channel, or do you have to go to like each individual video to see the statistics?
Well, both, but in the top of analytics, it is under engagement. Yeah. So you go to analytics.youtube.com and you'll see some tabs across the top: overview, reach, engagement, audience revenue. Click on engagement, and then the second tab, the one on the right, underneath that is average view duration. So that will tell you across all your videos during a current period. Do you think we answering that question?
I'm hoping so, but Pixelpia, if you want more clarification or want to go further into that, go ahead and drop another comment on that one. And then she had a second question, which was, how many videos or views do you think you need before you would get good numbers to use for analytics? Kind of like that newer YouTuber again, do you think we should focus on making, at what point do you say, let me take the blinders off and actually take a look at these numbers?
Well, the truth is that I work with a lot of small channels, and the thing is, when you're working with a B2B SaaS platform and they make software for Salesforce or HubSpot, they may actually have a very small potential audience, and I'm one of the few people that specializes in these small potential business things. But the thing is that one view for you could be $100,000 contract.
Yeah.
So small views does not necessarily mean a bad thing. It really depends on what your goal is with a YouTube channel.
I think you're so right on, because if I was talking to someone the other day and I was like, gosh, if you're a real estate channel and, you know, do you really care that someone didn't hit the subscribe button if because they saw your video, they decided to call you up and be like, I'd like to list my $1 million home, or I'd like to buy homes in this area that I'm about to move to. You wouldn't care when you're about to bank $40,000 because someone found you on the internet. But like, yeah, when it comes to your analytics, I think that even after you publish your first couple, you can still look at analytics and it can still be like beneficial, because it could be something showing you like, oh, they don't like the intro, or or maybe they just don't know me yet, and maybe I buy more time later with that as I publish more videos.
And don't think that you always have to follow what's happening in analytics. The analytics is not your boss. Okay.
Yeah, true.
It's just basically when it comes down to it says how much the people that are watching now like it, and what do they think that it is. But there are so many channels that, regardless of how, even if it was their top video, they hated that video. You'd be surprised how many YouTubers and businesses, their top video they despise. And that doesn't mean that they want to do more of those, because it might not be the direction that they want to go for whatever reason. So you go in the reason of your knowledge and enthusiasm. And that is the best way to go. So when you look at a video, yeah, it might do poorly. And we talked about earlier audience retention. And that's just simply how much people are watching and when they leave a video. And if you're just looking at one video, you can look at that even if it only has a few views. Actually, when there are fewer views, you'll know it, because on audience retention, it's more jaggedy as it goes along. And the more views you have, it's smoother because it averages out many videos.
That's a good point. I never really thought of that. That's a really good way to think about that. So I know that Daryl Leaves has talked about sometimes cutting off a ski slope. So if you see your analytics and you see these huge humps, so maybe in that first 30 seconds or something, and I know Jimmy or Mr. Beast has talked about this too in a Clubhouse room, where he said sometimes like we realized that we were losing a lot of people in the first 30 seconds, so we went into YouTube Studio, into the back end in the trimmer, and we just cut it.
Yeah.
We just cut out the whole section. And he's like, and then our retention was better after it processed and everything. So I thought that was really interesting. I do want to give a quick shout out. We got our first super chat so we got to play our little animation. Oh, I love that. Woo. Okay, so let me find the little animation, and then we're going to wait for it. Here it goes. You may disappear because I don't know if I have it for both of us. 1 second. And don't worry, Dane will be back. It's only 10 seconds. Thank you, Matt, so much for your super chat. I appreciate that. Let me read your question. And then Brent, I saw you from BYO Tools, fellow Seattle creator. I'm going to get to your question as well. So Matt, thank you so much for your question. And you are saying, do either of you use groups to measure how many different kinds of videos they're doing, and specifically kinds of groups that you recommend? Thank you. Groups is such a good, this is like advanced analytics. You're getting That's like right. Advanced in your, oh my gosh, Matt, good. Okay. Dean, do you want to tackle this one? Oh my gosh. Yes. Okay.
But I first just want to say I liked that music, your super chat music.
Oh, thanks. I got it from Audio Hero, because, if you have TubeBuddy, then you get a bunch of free songs per month. So all of the music that I play, I got from Audio Hero. So.
And your TubeBuddy affiliate URL is?
Oh, it's in the description box, but it's like tubebuddy.com/Shelly Saves. And I will say, I am the only person who has this special deal where you can get a 14-day version of any like license, and then still get 20% discount. So some people have the thing where you can get like 30 days for free and then no discount. I have it where you get 14 days free any version, as well as 20% discount for however long you stay. So yeah, go check that out.
So get Shelly's TubeBuddy, because she makes money when you do that. So
oh yes, I do. But like, you know what's funny about that?
Get it anyway.
Oh no. TubeBuddy has a lifetime cookie. So if they ever installed the free version from Roberto Blake from 4 years ago, Roberto actually gets the money. So I don't really care.
He's great too.
Oh, he absolutely. So like, it doesn't really matter to me. I just care that you guys get a discount.
So with YouTube groups, what does they mean by YouTube groups? And it's really YouTube.
Yeah.
They call it. It's not really actually a very good name, because it's a feature in analytics, and it's actually pretty hard to even find. Mm-hmm. You sort of have to you have to go in the advanced mode, and that's up on your right-hand side there. And you click on that, and then sort of both either on the top right and top left, you can sort of click on that and create a group. So it can create any different video that you have in a group. And so you could have a group of 2, you could have a group of 20, and you can group them any way you want. So how would you group it? Well, the first way I would group it with a client is I would group it by month the video was released. Because if I'm doing reporting, I can come and I can say, okay, well, the videos that came out in February, they're doing this well, and the videos that do this well came out in March. And over consecutive months, you can compare, because it also has compare the first 30 days of traffic of all of these. You can compare them apples to apples. The problem with the great thing with YouTube is that content lasts a long time. And it's unlike any other video network where content is usually gone after a couple of days. But videos last forever. And so sometimes your videos are doing great from a year ago, but your new videos, they haven't stuck yet, or maybe they'll never will. You never know. But you can compare month by month and say, okay, here's how we're doing across these various months. Are we improving month over month in the traffic of the first 30 days, right? Because you want to just do the 30 days, because if you did March to February, at the end of March, February would have much more because it's had more time, right? Okay, but what are the other things that you could group by? You could group by almost anything. Let's say videos with thumbnails where I showed my face. Videos that were about if you cover different topics. So
yeah, I like to do topic specific sometimes. But I'll continue.
Exactly. Yeah, so for instance, I cover YouTube analytics, YouTube features, and just sort of YouTube strategies. And I could just sort of split them up like that. Or ones where I did a straight tutorial versus ones where I did a story tutorial, you know? Yeah. Or ones where I did an interview.
I used to do ones where it was screen recordings without my face on it as like a bubble. And then like ones where I eventually started doing screen recording and my face as an overlay, because I found in my own analytics that the drop off was very steep whenever I went to a screen share and then never like was still on screen anymore. And so that was one of the reasons that I ended up kind of changing the style and putting myself, not to be narcissistic, but I feel like people needed to keep continuing to see face while they were going through screen share. So that was kind of one of the ways that I was grouping. And then I also had done a grouping by topic. So, you know, I have done some stuff on YouTube and how to, and I had grouped some stuff by like iMovie stuff or Final Cut Pro or, you know, whatever. And I could see some of these like types of categories as well. So you could also group you know, by duration. So do people kind of like your videos that are over 10 minutes, under 5 minutes? And those are another way that you could group your data as well. So I think it's kind of really interesting. And I know that you just talked about face versus no face. And two things I wanted to mention about that. Number one is that TubeBuddy has a tool called Click Magnet. If no one has checked that out, I think I even had created a video on it. They definitely have some on their channel, but it will run that analysis for you, and it will tell you like the close-up, the medium shot, the far away shot, like what your audience likes. and it is doing some of that analytics for you and then telling you your audience likes it when you have ones of your face where you're smiling versus sad or whatever. And another thing that's so interesting about this is Mr. Beast, when he spoke at Vid Summit, he talked about how he took all of his information about thumbnails and he put it into a spreadsheet so that people could actually do some sort of like pivot tables and data analysis on like how many people in thumbnails. And so that could be something else you group on, you know, like if there's multiple people in your thumbnails, if there's text versus no text. And he would talk about like different types of attributes about a thumbnail, and they would use that data to be like, because they very often will do different thumbnails in the first 48 hours versus after that, because I know Little Monster has talked about this, where they talk about in the first 48 hours when you're getting that blast, when it's people who are subscribed to you, they need to see your face or familiarity, and then after that it can be a more generic thumbnail, and they're very detailed when it comes to all of their analytics, and that's where you can get in the future. But I don't want anyone to get scared that they have to be doing that stuff right now. I don't know. What do you think about that?
Each of those things you brought up like several different topics, and they're each extremely good. But I want to go back to something you said before first. You talked about, you sort of said it real fast, and I just want to make sure people got it. And it's sort of a trick that you want to be super careful with, but it's okay to do. And that was you were talking about the cutting off the ski slope. Yeah. If you saw your videos were doing bad because you had a long intro, what would happen, right? And what if the thing about YouTube is you can't just upload a replacement video. It's not an FTP site.
I know, right? Replace.
But you can cut off parts of it.
Yeah.
And usually they come out fine. I've had some way back when that weren't synced properly, and then they just weren't synced, and it was a pain. But that tool's really evolved. And what it does, it's a very simple online editor that's only for YouTube, and you can basically cut off parts of it. You can cut snippets out of the middle.
Or you can add a blur if you got something.
Yeah, you just can't add any video into it.
Right.
Because they don't want people getting, YouTube thinking the video's approved, and then you add some sort of commercial for something that's illegal or who knows what. So, we did a live stream for a former client, and you ever hear of the Justice clothing line for girls?
Yes.
So like 1,000 stores. Mm-hmm. So I was the YouTube channel manager for them, and we had people that were in charge of the video production. I was really in charge of the channel management part. But we didn't usually do live streams, but there was a big event, the Live Justice event. But the thing is that the live streaming people, who were not me, they were pros. But with any live stream, if you ever watch a pro live stream, there's always that waiting period at the beginning, right? It's always something that is about a minute and a half. They just have to have it because they're not sure that tech's going to work.
Yeah. Oh, but we had it. We had the intro song, and like that's enough time to come here and make sure.
Yours worked just fine.
Yeah.
Theirs had, about, I think, 60 to 90 seconds of just nothing.
Yeah.
Well, you're trying to get people to watch that after the fact, right?
Yeah.
You're trying to
it's
get
the
them to
replay
watch it after the
crowd.
fact.
Yeah.
And that can be the people who really want to see that in an asynchronous way. But what happens is they well, this isn't what I wanted. I just wanted to click and watch. So you can actually edit a former live stream using the YouTube editing tool and take out that first dead part until the first, what I go for is the first part where someone says something on directly to the camera.
Okay. Now I'm going to say one thing about that, though. If you go into a YouTube editor and we
edit a live stream,
you will lose your chat, your replay.
That's exactly right.
So keep in mind that if that's important to you, the way around that is you're going to need to do timestamps and chapters and tell people, maybe a pinned comment, video starts here, to jump to, on screen, come here if you want to keep and retain that, because a lot of the time if people are coming to it and they see a 60-second time clock, they can obviously go forward 60 seconds and just be like, okay, let's do this. But I've definitely come across a lot of people who are like, I didn't know I'd lose everything. But also keep in mind, if you go back and revert those changes, which you can, those comments are still there. So you can get them back if you do that. Just know that you'd probably want to go in and do like a timestamp.
But I'll just tell you what the result was, and you're absolutely right. That was a risk we knew we were going to take, but we wanted to get as many people watching as long as possible, and the chat was important but secondary for us in this instance. And so we really were able to double the amount of average view duration on that video.
Okay, so this is we're going to be a little bit of a speed round because I know we still have a few to get through, and I want to try and keep you on time.
Let's go.
So BYOT said, I'm seeing more views and subscribers than ever before on my videos, but my retention rate is going down. So it's normally 35 to 40%, but now it's closer to 25 to 30%. Is this something I should be worried about?
Yeah, it should. You should. You should worry about it because your videos either you're getting people to watch that are coming for the wrong reason. They don't really know why they're watching. Like maybe you just said to everyone you knew, hey guys, watch this. And now you're getting plenty of people, but they're like, yeah, but I'm not that committed because, your mom isn't into Fortnite, so.
I'm gonna kind of agree with you and be like, yes, it's great that subscribers are going up, but I would care most about the audience retention and what you can do to make sure that you can get back to that. So whether that's cutting down fluff or whatever kind of needs to be done, faster pacing, other things that you can do to keep them engaged. If that's something that you could take a look at your analytics at, you may want to just take a peek at that because there could be something in there indicating that they're not happy about something. So it might be something to look at. So Annie dropped a super chat. So this time we are going to do a dance together. And so this one you're going to stay on screen for. So that's great.
Okay.
And then, yes, we're going to hold on one second here. Let me pick a song. I will give you a couple to choose from. You can have Positronic, See Through the Mirror, or Regimental. I don't know. Most of the time, I toss them in there and by name, and I don't recognize the song. So it's a crapshoot every time. Positronic.
Because I'm positive it's going to be great.
I love it. Oh my god. Okay, yes, Positronic here. We're gonna all dance, guys. We're all gonna all dance. 1 second. Dance the overlays. Okay, we're coming back. I'm going to turk the bubbles off, so just in case you know. That always gets some people, and then they're like, wait, what? And off. Okay, great. Annie, thank you so much for your super chat. By the way, Annie just became a YouTuber today. She has been in the Clubhouse with us for the last couple of months, and today she hit publish on her very first video after a couple months of us berating her and do it. So today she officially became a YouTuber. We were talking about that on the Instagram live. And so we want to all congratulate Annie. If you guys are here, give her a round of applause in the comment section. We're very, very proud of Annie. Annie is now a YouTuber. She's no longer just a YouTube viewer. She is an official YouTuber. Okay, so one last thing. I think we got Pixel Pia. We're coming back because she had a clarification on this question. So is there any way to exclude live streams from analytics? So we want to take a look at analytics, which is interesting because they have some separation when it comes to average view duration on live videos versus regular videos. So I know they have some separation. And I was talking to someone about this recently because I was saying, especially for people who are maybe trying to hit that monetization goal sometimes, because it's average view duration 1 minute 50 seconds on a video. On a live stream it's 7 minutes or something like that. People tend to watch longer because they want to be acknowledged, they want to see their comment come up, they want to interact, and they stay longer on those videos. Keep in mind you have to keep them public for all of that time to count. So the people who do it and then private it, that doesn't count anymore. But I think the question is there a way to kind of obfuscate those away from each other and just look at just the live videos versus regular videos?
Well, it was a lot easier before. I don't think it's that easy now. You just have to make a group.
Yeah, I think absolutely. That's what I was going to say. I was like, maybe grouping is probably the thing, because they do separate them like in the back end, like, videos and then live videos. But when it comes to some of the analytics, the only one I've really seen separated out is like that live versus like.
Hey man, it's all content.
It's all content.
They don't even have videos anymore. YouTube
content.
doesn't even have videos anymore. They just have the content tab.
I'm right there with you. Okay, so I'm gonna see. I know. Oh, I'm at time already. Do you have time for a couple minutes?
I'm fine.
Okay, awesome. Okay, do we see the question? And then Matt said, I've never thought about grouping by month or duration. So he gave you a fire emoji. So he said he was grouping by thumbnails and was looking for other ways to use that feature. So I appreciate that. And then BYOT says, thank you for the advice with a smiley face. So there's all of that. Okay, so
real emojis happening here.
Yes. And I hope you guys know, I hope you guys were also all celebrating Annie. So if you're still here, drop a like. And Annie, if you guys see her, you guys can go leave her, like I was her very first thumbs up on that video, but go leave a thumbs up on her video. It's her very first video ever. She did a short, which is so funny because she has the in-camera app experience and I do not. So she actually could upload a short and I was like, are you kidding me? Okay, so if you were to say to a new YouTuber, what is your favorite analytic that you would really have them focus on if you were going to give advice? And here's the thing. I'm going to give you two options. One, if the answer is different for a business, because sometimes it is, and then different for just like a non-business.
Yeah. So even though we focus on helping businesses in our business, I would still say it's the same thing, because as a new channel, your goal, if you could just do one thing, is try to get people to watch longer and figure out what that is. So if you could master audience retention, and that shows up in a couple of different ways. And remember, you go to analytics.youtube.com. That shows you your analytics for your whole channel, and then you can look at it from individual videos. And it's usually on the either the first or the second tab for each one, and you can actually click to see more underneath that area and watch that sort of wave. But if you could increase the number of people who watch your videos and are still watching at 1 minute 60 seconds, and they're watching it at the rate of 70%, that means that of 100 people, 70 people are still watching. If you could do that, then the world is yours.
I love that. That's such good advice. And I'm going to say for myself, I just like to have people, I mean, it's pretty much the same thing, just looking at a different way, but I want you to notice where I call the 50% cliff, 50% drop off cliff is. And if you can get it outside of the 1/3, but closer to the 2/3 to the finish of the video, I think like the more you can try and get it to scoot towards the end, that's a good like measure for you to come off against. So yeah, are you good with that? Okay, so I want to say thank you so much to you for coming and hanging out with us. I feel like we could just go on for like hours and hours. So if you're open to it, we can just come back and then we'll do a 201, a 301 for more advanced analytics. I was actually really surprised Matt came in here with the grouping by, and I was just like, excuse you, Mr. Advanced Analytics, that was amazing. That was really good. So if you're open to it, we'll totally do it.
It's free of charge. You just open up your YouTube analytics and give it a try.
I love that. And I want to just leave people with this fact that like, don't get overwhelmed just because all this information exists. It doesn't mean that you have to like be completely petrified or scared. All of this data will still always be there. You can just pick and decide like, let's focus on this one thing. And then when I'm feeling like I've got this a little bit down, let's bring in one more after that. Then I care about click-through rate, or then I care about something else, or, changing from suggested to, browse traffic or, search. So I feel like I just don't want people to get overwhelmed, because then they kind of like look at it and they're like, oh crap, I'm just not gonna not do this. So, okay, so one last thing we're going to do. I just have to make sure I do this because it's required. So 1 second. I think you might pop off screen for 1 second. I'll bring you back.
I refuse.
I refuse. Okay. I want to make sure I say thank you to all of the channel members. If you are interested in channel memberships, there's always a button down below, but platinum level channel members always get on-screen mention in every single video. And I want to make sure that I also say thank you to our channel sponsor, and that is Restream. If you guys want to take a look at that, I'm going to bring Dane back. Where is he? Where is he? Where is he? It's down here. No. If you guys ever want to check that out, you can start for free, or you can save $10 if you want to hook up with them. And that is how we are simulcasting between here, Twitter, Periscope. I don't know if it's still even a thing because every once in a while I still see it, but it's supposed to be dead at the end of March. We're on Facebook and we're on Twitch, so we're all the places. So, and if you want to be all the places too at the same time or not, you can actually sign up for that as well. Any last words you want to leave the people with?
Thank you.
Those are so good. That was excellent. All right. Okay, I'm gonna
Shelly
bring this back.
saves the day again. That's what I wanted to say.
I love it. All right. So thank you everyone for hanging out with us this Thursday. I'll be back on Sunday and Thursday again. So we're gonna say goodbye to everyone and play our outro music. We'll see you next week. All right. Bye guys.